All right, today is July 7th. My name is Kevin Stinson, and this is for Dr. B's Bio 250, and we're going to be looking at the brain. So, I'm in my garage because of the smell of formaldehyde my wife is not a fan of, but this is the sheep's brain that was supplied with our kit. And first we'll look at the exterior features, and overall this is the cerebrum, otherwise known as the brain. And if you look here, all these ridges are called gyrus, for plural, and all of the grooves are called sulcus, also plural. So the latitudinal fissure is right here. It runs down and separates the two sides. So the brainstem is this portion here. The midbrain is the top of the brainstem. There's like this paper in the way, but the midbrain is kind of near the top of the brainstem. The pons is the middle portion, and the medulla oblongata is the bottom. This is the cerebellum. And this is it means mini brain. So you have the vermis here in this section. It's kind of like the middle. It's not the midline, but it is the middle. Then you have the two hemispheres of it, and you have the things that protect. Obviously, we don't have it on here, but this would be kind of a good example of what a meninge would be, right? So you have a thick outer layer that protects the entire central nervous system, right? So that would be the dura mater, and it's a thick fibrous layer that covers the brain and the spinal cord in total, right? And then you have the arachnoid, which is a thin fibrous tissue. It's kind of like a loose sac. It allows some movement and some swelling and contractions and things like that. And then you have the pia mater, which is in the inner layer, and it's very thin, but it's also a fibrous layer. It protects the brain. So that is the exterior kind of analysis, and I'm going to pause this while I dissect it so we can get to the middle of it. So here you can really see the difference between the outer gray matter here and the inner white matter, right? And the cerebrum, or the cerebellum, I'm sorry, is made of white matter and processes a lot of information, both for involuntary and voluntary. So this is the brain stem here, and this interior piece up here, this is the very top. So up here would be the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary gland. So that's all in here. So as we said before, the midbrain is this piece right here. You can see this kind of segregation. And then you have the pons, which is the middle section here, and then the medulla is this bottom piece that actually runs and attaches to the spinal cord. So the thalamus is a sensory neuron, and it processes sensory input and gives you the ability to process voluntary movement in reaction to. The hypothalamus is involuntary control center, and it is the other half of the diencephalon, which is the thalamus and the hypothalamus, both derived from different embryo tissue. The lateral ventricle is either side of the brain, essentially, and what that does is, so the ventricle system allows cerebral spinal fluid, CSF, to circulate through the spinal cord in the brain. So the lateral ventricles, you can't really see. I know there's a picture in the textbook that kind of points them out. It's just a little passageway for cerebral spinal fluid to get through. I think that one might be it. And you have one on either side. And then you have the third ventricle, which is the space between the left and the right sides of the diencephalon, which is, as we said, the thalamus and hypothalamus region, which is up in here. And then you have the fourth ventricle, which is, if I remember right, it's back here in the cerebellum, and it allows CNF to flow through there and drain back into the cranial cavity and get secreted to be disposed of through the urinary tract and blood. So I tried to get this paper off of here so we could look at some of the the points that we needed to as far as the cranial nerves. So the mnemonic that I remember from the book is on Old Olympus towering tops, right? So that's olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, and then there was another one, abducens. All of these little pieces here that did protrude from this paper are those nerve bits. Just another note, the cerebral aqueduct it passes through the midbrain here, and it connects to the fourth ventricle, which is the space between the cerebellum and the pons in the upper. So when it comes to the cranial nerves, so you have, these are olfactory, so that's smell. And then optic nerves are following that, so they're all right here. The trochlear are following that. I'm sorry, the oculomotor, then the trochlear. So oculomotor is in this area, the trochlear, and then you have the trigeminal. I hope I'm saying that right. And then the abducens is down here towards the back. So that's all of this. I can't, like I said, there's not much detail I can give you with this paper, but this is all of the cranial nerves here, and they protrude. So this concludes my lab. I hope I covered everything. My printer broke, so I'm kind of running off of memory, and I hope this suffices. So thanks for watching.